Hi, Digital
Good
Learning.
morning.
We're on the air with Kathy today, and she's going to take us through some activities that can be found inside Discovery Education. So, Kathy, take it away.
Good morning, and welcome to Speed Denning. My name is Kathy Marr. I'm an Instructional Technology Resource Integrator for the School Division. Today, we're going to explore a little-known but excellent resource in Discovery Education, which is fairly new, and it's called Spotlight on Strategies. So I'm going to attempt to speed through as many best practice instructional strategies as time will allow. I'm going to share my desktop with you. And here we go. And I am screen sharing now, and hopefully you will all be able to see my screen. The first thing we need to do is make sure that we're logged into my.ccpsnet.net, and also click on the Discovery Education icon if you're following along with me. So how do you find these great strategies in Discovery Education? Well, if you're on the Discovery Education homepage, we are going to click on the Professional Learning Center. And in the Professional Learning Center, there are 4 categories of resources available for you. And I'm actually going to scroll down to show you all the wonderful resources here that you can use to help you in your instructional practice with your students. There are step-by-step guides and educator essentials. And then under strategies and resources, there's some great ones, including Spotlight on Strategies, as well as virtual field trips and content collections. I encourage you to check them out later on. So what about Spotlight on Strategies? What is Spotlight on Strategies? So let's click on that link. Spotlight on Strategies are over 100 effective, creative, research-based instructional strategies. They're presented by teachers and for teachers. These are very simple instructional strategies that incorporate digital media in meaningful and effective and practical ways. The presentation today will highlight some of these great strategies. Now, as you look at the page, each of these strategies are categorized by skills. You can see here, you see there are 3 previewed for each skill. However, when you click the View All, you will see all the strategies available under those skills. Also, be aware that some of these strategies are maybe in one or located in one or more skill. So I'm just going to show you what they look like very briefly. I'm going to click on journals because we all are very familiar with journals and use journals. And you can see here, you'll see on the strategy page that there's a 1 to 3 minute video that will show you exactly how to use the strategy presented by a teacher. You'll also see that there's a PDF version. I love these PDF versions because they really spell out how these strategies work. They give you the background, the big idea, the steps on how to do this, and then also the sum it up, wrap it up. What does this look like? As well as some more ideas. Now keep in mind that these are hands-on instructional strategies. So today, how are we going to techify these strategies? Well, that's what we're going to explore. So I'm going to also show you now my presentation. You may or may not have the presentation link. If you like the presentation, it's also on the Q&A sheet, as well as if you'd like to open a new tab, it is bit.ly/DLDSOS, all in uppercase letters. I am going to begin on slide 7. So here we go. Our learning objectives for today are to really know how to access these strategies, how to find strategies that will meet your instructional needs, and also how to build a collection. So the first strategy I'm going to feature today is called Connect the Dots. On these slides, I've also included the strategy link as well as the written guide. Now, Connect the Dots is a teaching strategy that provides a structure for students as they make text-to-self connections. Students use dots and lines to identify points that connect them to a topic of study. In order for new information to make its way into long-term memory, students must be able to answer 2 important questions. Does this make sense? And does this have meaning? So this strategy allows students to develop a concept map that connects the dots between what they are learning and how it is relevant to their lives. And you can see here, I show you the hands-on strategy, and we're going to make a little twist and techify this strategy for you. So on my next slide, what we're going to do for our example is that we are going to use the topic of discovery education resources. We're going to make the connection from the topic of discovery education to your lives. How do you use them in your instructional practice? We're not going to use a video segment as it states in the strategy. We're actually going to use a question. What resources are available in discovery education? So click on the link to open the activity. I'll show you what the activity looks like started. And if you don't have the presentation open, you can use the bit.ly, which is right alongside of this link. When you click on the activity, it's actually going to ask you to make a copy. And this is your copy to enjoy and edit and modify as well, any way that you would like. So at the bottom here, you have resources available in discovery education. At the top, you would type your name. And there are dots here for the different resources I use. I use video segments. I've already typed some of these in for you. I use images and I use audio. Well, how do I use images? I use images for instructional hooks. I use images for other parts of a learning activity as well. I can drag as many dots and use as many text boxes as I'd like to complete this activity. So thinking about your subject and content area, how can you use this strategy with students so that they can make connections to the content for meaning and relevance? I will show you a completed activity. And this is actually how I use Discovery Streaming resources. This is my connection to the content that I'm showing you today. And I use SOS strategies. I've modeled them. I've actually written a blog post about them. Audio clips as instructional hooks to promote writing, photos and images. And also I use a board builder tool in Discovery as well. So think about this type of activity and your content area and how you can use these. For younger students, you may want to use images as the content ideas, and then possibly even have word, they call it like word magnets, or word art, that students can drag and drop to make those connections to what it means to them. Now moving on and connect the dots, so that's one strategy. We're going to look at another strategy. This strategy is called Half Story. Half the Story, again, I have the strategy link and the written guide, and you can see here, we're going to model this activity. Half the Story is a teaching strategy that uses images to encourage students to process information and make connections. Now, in this strategy, the teacher zooms in on a selected image to show only part of it, and then asks the students to make predictions about the topic of study and explain their reasoning. How many of us have ever struggled to begin with student conversation around a particular topic? They say pictures are worth 1,000 words. If this is true, why should we use images to springboard a discussion? So with this teaching strategy, I'm going to open an image, which I am using from Discovery Education, about a topic of study. So typically you can zoom in on an image, but for this presentation, I've actually have pieces that I'm going to animate in to show you. So here, let me ask you to put your thinking caps on and put your student hats on. Observe what you see in this image. Take a look at it and think about this. What do you see in this image? Well, right now we do see a man, and we see this image is black and white. It may be an older image. That could be an older bus. So you may have students respond in that way. So I'm going to reveal a little bit more of the image. Now what do you see? Well, now we know that this gentleman is sitting what appears to be an older bus. So it was probably a picture from long ago. What may be happening in this image? Could he be going to work? What do you think? So now I'm going to show you the entire image. And now who do you see sitting with this gentleman in the bus? What we see is Rosa Parks. This could be part of a history lesson for this month. And this would be an instructional hook that you could use with your students. So after the picture is revealed, students can write an entry in their journal about their prediction. They could write if they made the correct prediction or they didn't, and why. And they can use that as part of their interactive notebook. And remember, I talked a little bit about the journal strategy in the beginning of this presentation. We'll talk about that a little more in a minute. Our next strategy is called 6-word story. It's exactly that, a 6-word story. Again, the strategy link and written guide are here for you. And here is a sample of the hands-on strategy that you see. And we are going to techify this strategy. 6-word story is a teaching strategy that allows students to practice summarizing and selective word choice. Students use an image or an article as a basis for a story that conveys a big idea using only 6 words. As you can see on the slide, it's a hands-on activity. And so what we're going to do is students would typically write a summary with a limited number of words, and they have to focus on some important idea for thoughtful word choice. So as we carefully look at this image, I do have a link here. This link will go to an activity. Now, because I'm not sure how many of you are viewing, I'm using a web app called DotStorming. But you can use with your students a Padlet. You can brainstorm on a Google Drawing Doc or a Google Doc or a Google Slide as well. So as we look for this, Techify, if you'd like to add an idea about the story, you can enter your name here. Now, if we were using this with students, obviously we would use something non-identifying as a number or an initial, but you can put your name in here, click join, and then once you do that, you can actually add an idea. So if you'd like to add an idea for this 6-word story, please feel free to do so. In looking at time, I'm just going to continue to move on, but if you'd like to practice with that, you are more than welcome to. There's also a 6-word journal here, and I will show you that. You'll be prompted to make a copy, and remember we talked about journals. Students can actually, you can have a journal that you set up for students and share in Classroom if you're using Classroom. This journal is using the document outline from the tools, and I've used text that are formatted as headings to allow for navigation. And here, this image is our practice story. So how did I do this with the image? And then I can have my text next to the image. I inserted a Google drawing. So it's called Insert Drawing. And now that I have it in my template, I can double click on it. I can write my practice story here. Once I'm done writing my story, I save and close. Then you can have students find an image in Discovery related to a topic of study. They can download that, and they can actually add that to their journal and practice. When they open that drawing, they can add an image right from the drawing, and they can type their 6-word story and save and close. So that's one way of using a journal, and they can reflect on their predictions as well. So moving on, our next strategy is called Equations of Understanding. Now, this activity focuses on synthesizing as a process of combining parts to a whole to make a brand new whole. This is definitely a higher level and more critical thinking exercise. Again, the strategy link and guide are here for you. And as you look at this story, you would use images. Now, in the hands-on activity, this would be something that possibly is images are printed or there are a series of images that you have. So how do you do this techified? So students would look at the image or images, and they have to come to some way of putting these images in some sequence or order based on the topic or unit of study that they are reviewing at the time. So this is more of a complex type of activity. So I'm going to show you the initial activity. So this will help you visualize this, and you'll be prompted to make a copy. And you can see here, I've used a Google drawing, and students would drag the images where they feel they would like to put that order. So how does this work? And I have put some clues here. What happens with an abundance of rain? So they could literally just drag the image and then answer the question. For a completed activity, I will show you that, which I'm at the bottom, but I cannot get to the bottom with that. So as a completed activity, they would just drag the activities to the rest of the images to where they feel this would work. Possibly the fire, lightning would be here. And something on this nature. So then they can actually begin to describe these images. What happens during a storm? Lightning hits, it causes a forest fire. Forest fires can be destructive and unfortunately can ruin a forest. So my time is up, but I would like to thank you for joining me in this presentation. There are additional strategies through the presentation if you'd like to view those. And also please, in the next steps, think about exploring Discovery Education's Professional Center. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. That was good stuff from Discovery Education. And thanks everybody for dialing into Digital Learning Day. We're back on air in a couple minutes, so see you then.